This is Overmind, an Ayla Rin Adventure by Jon Del Arroz. It's drawn by Miss Crimson, but it's mostly Jon Del Arroz's book. I would say he's the writer, he's the creator of the universe, and he's definitely the one who markets it the most. I've watched quite a bit of his content on YouTube, and when he talks about being an alternative in the comics industry, what he really wants to get back to is this classic pulp style of comic book fiction that was very present in the 60s, the 70s, early 80s. And I would have to say this does really recapture that feel. It has very much a retro comic book style feel. Miss Crimson really does a great job at delivering that. And he's talked about how invested she is as an artist, not just doing this for a paycheck, but she cares about the character of Ayla Rin and wants to do justice by her. And you definitely feel that, not in terms of only the script. I have to say, with Jon Del Arroz, I have to give credit where credit is due with writing the script. It starts in media res, establishes Ayla Rin as his character, draws the reader in with some nice action. See, you got a very nice little one-page spread here that gives you the title, gives you the story credits. You can see the right at the corner there, basically the credits. But this is basically your title splash. And of course, it goes and establishes the plot here on, this is the next page, and establishes this one story. It's called Overmind. So Ayla Rin is basically tasked with going to a planet that's being taken over by an AI called Overmind, and she has to take him down basically by herself because she's an agent for the Terran Imperium. And this is basically it's like Star Wars in the sense of it being a science fantasy universe, right? But instead of it being a bunch of rebels going after an evil empire, it's a benevolent empire that Ayla Rin is a part of, and she's tasked with keeping the peace throughout an intergalactic empire, which is a very interesting setup for a sci-fi universe. And based on this story that we get here, I definitely want to see more of it. Ayla Rin's a very attractive character, but she's also a very confident one. She knows what she's doing. She's not afraid to get everything done. Of course, she's got this strong sense of morality about her where, she wants to save people, she wants to help people, she wants to do right by the Terran Imperium. So it leads to, a lot of very interesting plot points that can be developed as you tell more stories within this universe. But this one story here, like I said, AI and sci-fi is definitely something that I personally can really jive with. And the ideas of transhumanism, the idea of artificial intelligence going rogue and invading not only just, humanity on Earth, but an intergalactic humanity is a very interesting thing. And while it's all in the context of like a classic Star Wars story, a classic the good guys win, the bad guys lose sort of story, it still leaves you scratching your head. It still, leaves you thinking these things on a deeper and philosophical scale, excuse me, even if that's not the way it is presented in the entire, even if that's not the way it's presented in the story where all these ideas are dived into with the deepest of depth. It's really just these interesting concepts woven together in this really simplistic story, but it's not simplistic in a bad sense. It's that you have a very basic plot structure and it's done very well, and it all, goes together like a really good action movie. Like Star Wars is, a classic hero's tale journey, and it's not a complex story, and that's not what made it so good and so resonating with millions of people, is that it was done and presented well. And this is the feeling that I get with Overmind, is that it's a classic story, it's classic writing, it's just executed really well. So Jon knows how to write a good script. He brought it with this book, and he had, good people who were able to do the art for him and give us this really classic, like I said, it's this really pulp classic style, especially with the colors. It's got, I'm not sure if like watercolor is the best, but just the way the coloring is, it really makes it pop. It really makes you feel like you're flipping through like in one of those classic like comic books through the 70s or something like that. Some stuff from like Ditko Spider-Man, if I'm getting my classic comics right. I especially love, this is the Ethernet. So if you see this spread here, this is when she goes into the Ethernet the first time. And just the, difference between her being in reality and her being in the Ethernet is definitely quite different. You see You see it again with this spread here. This is the second time she gets into the Ethernet. I'm not sure if you can see it too well here, but it's just done so well. She has a really nice character design. She's definitely a very attractive character. You know, traditionally, she's got this traditionally feminine build, and you know, it doesn't make her like a bimbo or ditzy or anything. She's very competent. She knows what she's about. She has this strong moral character, and she's using it to enforce the peace of the Terran Imperium. So it makes her a very interesting character. It makes her a character that's compelling, and it makes her a character that you want to get invested in, right? And it's not like, you know, some doom and gloom. She doesn't, you know, save the day. She, you know, saves everybody. She thwarts the evil. She makes sure that the people who are innocent are saved. And she's, you know, like I said, a very competent agent for the Terran Imperium. And you see her, you know, go to her lowest point, but she comes back again, and she's victorious in the end. And it sets you up for a nice sets you up for, it has a nice conclusion that sets you up for more stories being told within this universe, which really is the intention of this book. You know, as I flip through a bit more of it, you see that, you know, she's got this classic design. She's got, you know, the white suit. It's got the heels on it. It emphasizes, you know, the fact that she's got feminine features. So it's not like a boring character design where you basically have a woman character that looks very masculine and is taking on masculine, you know, mannerisms all throughout. No, she's definitely a woman. She's definitely has her feminine form, but she doesn't, you know, let that hold her back. In fact, I think, you know, it allows her to prosper and allows her to be, you know, who she was always meant to be, and it makes her able, or she's able to overcome and get to you know, be the hero or the heroine that she needs to be for the people around her. So, and you know, like I said before with Jon, he knew what he was doing when he wrote the script. So basically, all the little rules you have to follow when you're writing. If you mention something, it has to be mentioned later. He does that. So this is a self-contained story. It uses a very small plot point as the in media res to just throw the reader into Ayla Rin's story, and then, you know, it uses that to get the reader invested, and then presents this bigger storyline, like I said, with Overmind and Ayla being tasked to take down the AI that is Overmind as the main story, and that gets, you know, all the plot points that are associated with that are presented and tied up with a nice little bow. And of course, you can always expand on these things later, and I think it's paced pretty well. Some transitions do feel a little bit jarring, but for the most part, everything makes sense. The layouts are really nice. So Miss Crimson did a really good job drawing this book. It's visually really nice, really good to behold. Some, you know, of Ayla's character designs look a little bit awkward, but I think that was done to emphasize like the horror aspect, because I think the worst is when she's getting basically like at her lowest point. I think that's to emphasize the fact that she's in a bad situation, and not necessarily done intentionally to make her, because, you know, she wasn't able to draw her out correctly proportioned. So I think Miss Crimson did a great job. I think the colorist, I think I forget his name, if I can get it here. It's yeah, Sunil Gagri, if I am getting that right. Did a great color job on this. It's got that classic color palette. It definitely looks color penciled in rather than being like digitally colored at a high fidelity, which I really like. It really feels like a classic pulp comic instead of just being like a sanitized, you know, digital affair, which I really like. And I think for the style of comic that he's going for, especially like stuff like this, like these reds here, this like dark scheme, and then of course you've got the way these panels are, because she's in the Overmind world, or the Ethernet, I should say, really emphasizes just the tone and the style that they were going for with this book, and it's all done really well. So it all really culminates in this really nice reading experience, and it definitely is something that makes me want to look or get more invested in this universe. There's a prose novel that I haven't read through yet, and of course there's the continuation of her story in graphic novel form, which I will be reviewing as well. This book definitely justifies it, and she's able to, overcome, what's presented to her in a way that's fun, in a way I wouldn't say necessarily fresh, but it's just presented well. And I have to say, it's classic science fiction. And if you like science fiction, you're going to like this book. And I think that's really all I have to say. So if you like my rambling, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you hate my rambling, you can dislike and never watch any one of my videos again. But if you're intrigued by this, the link for Del Arroz's website will be in the description. You'll be able to buy the book there. And of course, you can get this book. He's got more content in this universe as well, which I highly encourage you to all check out. But for now, Joker is out. It's a